Guys, welcome back to GatCat Till, and today we are taking a look at the Cyelee Wolf 2 RMR Red Dot. Now, this may very well be one of the cheapest RMR red dots that will check a lot of the boxes for you guys, for those in the market for an RMR style footprint red dot sight. Now, for those who don't know about Cyelee Optics, it's probably because you haven't really looked down the path of some of the more budget-friendly options. After all, most people will criticize you if you go onto Amazon and start buying your tactical gear from there. Now, the problem with the Amazon purchases and a lot of the gear that they're selling is that you run into a lot of counterfeit products. So if you're trying to go with an EOTech or your aim points, anything that's a high end that has a high probability of being counterfeited, there's a good chance that buying from Amazon will land you in some hot water. However, with Cyelee Optics, they are advertising directly themselves on Amazon. So you're able to pick this up with your free 2-day, 1-day shipping, depending on where you're located, what your membership level is, and all that jazz. But is it actually worth anything? And should you add this to your kit? Let's find out. So some of the testing that we plan to do to this is we're going to run it as a primary on our 9mm PCC, the Banshee from CMMG. We've put it on a little bit of an optical riser because we did go ahead and plan to run it under night vision because unlike a lot of the other budget-friendly options out there, this is rated for night vision friendly. And what that means is it has an emitter setting that is low enough that the auto gain on your night vision, one, isn't triggering, and two, isn't causing this massive bloom. And of course, we tested it already under nods and we saw that the image was bright enough, clear enough, and enjoyable enough that you were able to use it without any repercussions under night vision. Now, secondarily, it also advertises to be water friendly. Now, I don't recommend you go and dunk your gun in water to test this. However, we did use it out in the rain, make sure that it was all good. The only issues you run into is if you get a drop of water directly on the emitter, it will throw a cast over the screen and do kind of weird reflections. But any non-enclosed optic is going to do that. Secondly, they went ahead and have a plethora, yes, a plethora, of options for brightness levels. At its max brightness, there is a con. As you can see in the image here, you're going to notice that you get kind of like a washout effect. So if you are using the brightest setting, which is going to be required if you're shooting directly into the sun, you'll notice that you get that cast across it. Now, I did send this back to Cyelee Optics for a report, and essentially their engineers said they would look into it. So perhaps we'll see something down the road a little bit later that fixes this problem. However, I did try this on my Leupold Delta Point Pro on my Sig P320 daily carry, and I didn't have this issue, so it is something that I do want to point out from the Cyelee Optics side. The second thing that we care about is, does it hold zero? Now, of course, what good is an optic if it doesn't hold zero? So the way that we've tested this is, once again, we've been running it on our 9mm Banshee CMMG with a riser, and we found that by and large, it's pretty repeatable. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's sub MOA because what we're working with isn't necessarily a small single red dot that's 2 to 4 MOA. We're actually working with a 65 MOA ring that you would see more on things like the Holosuns or your EOTechs or your Vortex mailbox, aka the Huey. Some people like this. It's better for fast acquisition. However, it does limit your accuracy of what you can really drive down on. But for running still plates or just punching paper, or in theory, if you've got to punch a bad guy, that 65 MOA ring is not going to be the deal breaker for you. And you can get it in a version without. Now, the other thing that you want to consider when you're talking about an RMR red dot is shake awake. Shake awake is a feature that's going to save your battery life over time because as you have your gun, it's going to be resting in your safe, sitting on your bedside, it's going to be in your waistband, it's going to be in your car, but it's not going to be out in the field and, ready for use always. So the one thing that people have concerns with on some of the other optics, preferably or primarily talking about some of the older Vortex, some of the older Holosun, they didn't enable what was called shake awake feature. And what this means is that if I have the gun still for approximately 5 minutes, the emitter will shut off to conserve battery. Now, it's draining a little bit of battery in the background, not very much, but enough to keep the electronics awake so that in the instance that it feels that vibration or the movement of picking up and drawing your weapon, you're going to turn the optic back on and you'll be able to be ready to go. This keeps it to where your optic is always on the ready and you don't have to worry about replacing that battery once a month like I do, unfortunately, with my Vortex Huey. Once again, Vortex, looking at you to fix this. Now, moving on, the other thing that we need to consider is long-term durability. Now, I don't plan on shooting thousands and thousands and thousands of 9mm rounds through this thing in order to test it. So we're going to test this durability in a different fashion. First, we're going to now go ahead and take a look at what it does on the Desert Eagle. All right, guys. So the Desert Eagle has notoriously already killed one optic of mine. That was the Hollow Sun 508T, a titanium built optic that thankfully was actually covered under warranty when I explained that it was killed by a Desert Eagle. So will Cyelee honor a warranty if it gets killed by the Desert Eagle as well? Probably not. But we are going to give it a try for the sake of science and to show you if it can handle the load under recoil. Now we're going to fire into a safe direction and we're going to go ahead and give it, I don't know. I believe I've got 6 loaded right now, maybe 7 loaded. We are shooting just some kind of bulk ammo because this is about $2 a shot. So, oh, and we got our ear pro on. We're gonna kind of lock into position, see how we do. Was that 7 already? Whoo! All right, moment of truth. Well, in a very limited test, we are still alive. So we didn't necessarily kill the optics, but let's throw it on our 9mm PCC and see if we happen to have killed the zero. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we've got our CMMG Banshee 9mm with our R9 and our Cyelee Optic, the Wolf 2. Now, I've zeroed this thing and I've messed around with it a whole bunch. So we're gonna see how it holds zero after basically we've added it, removed it, removed it from a whole bunch of different scenarios. Let's see how it goes. A few of those misses were my bad, but held zero just fine. And this is after adding it, removing it from the pick mount, adding it, removing it from the deagle, running 3 rounds through that. So all in all, it hasn't broke yet. So summary, guys, if you're still watching this and you want to know my personal thoughts, well, I would say if you're in the market for a red dot and you are budget conscious, if you are someone who doesn't necessarily want to drop $400 on a TreasureCon RMR or 500 on an SRO, if you really want that big window, and let's just say you're not a fan of Holosun. Well, if you're not a fan of Holosun because of China, you're probably not going to be a fan of Cyelee Optics either. However, I would say this might just be the best budget option when it comes to something for not necessarily your primary everyday carry, but maybe that bedside gun, or maybe something that you bring to the range for fun, or perhaps you just have a 22 plinker. It's going to maintain its accuracy and it's going to live for a very long time. You don't have to always worry about changing the battery because of the shake awake. I really think this is an optic that is geared towards that secondary or tertiary gun that you only bring to the range or you let friends shoot. 9mm PCCs like MP5. This is probably awesome on an MP5 with an RMR footprint on your top Picatinny rail mount, which it does come with, included in the box, the Picatinny mount. So you can just go ahead and throw it directly onto anything that accepts it. If you're going to put this on your primary carry, like a Glock, and you have RMR footprint style, sure, why not? It will probably serve you very well. I haven't seen anything that would lead me or elude me to think that it won't. However, you're going to have people criticize your choices on that, just like people have criticized my choices on putting it on a Scar 17, which you can see in these hateful comments here. Now, me personally, this is going to just be on a plinking gun. Will I put it on my carry? Probably not. I'm going to stick with my Leupold Delta Point Pro. One, the footprint is already there and it's made for that gun. And two, it just is a great optic. I have had no issues with the sun flare, although battery life has been a smaller concern on the Delta Point for me, just because carrying it every day, that shake awake feature kind of is a trade-off, right? Because as you're carrying it, you're constantly moving it, triggers that optic to stay on, and you're not benefiting from that off and then back on when you draw type of situation. If it's in your car, the rattling's going to keep that optic on. So things that you need to be kind of aware of and considering. So long term ahead, I'll report back in maybe 6 months. We'll see if it's still alive. I've already recommended it to a few friends who just wanted something for plinking with their Glocks. Got one buddy who put it on his Glock, another buddy that's putting it on their MP5. And we're going to be running some tests on those things long term to see how it holds up under durability. Now, for me personally, it will live on my 9mm PCC. Might live on an off cant on the Scar whenever I'm running my heavier optics like my 5 to 25, 5 to 30, even potentially on my 1 to 8. However, what you decide to do with it is really up to your budget and what to your end goal is. I recommend them enough that I'm going to say go for it if it's something that you want at a budget level price for an RMR footprint. It's got shake awake, it's water rated, it's a 65 MOA circular dot, so you get a little bit faster target acquisition. You do have a center dot if you want to punch out something. It's repeatable for its hold. It's got super nice, and I didn't mention this, it's got super nice clicky sounds whenever you're making your adjustment. It includes the Picatinny to RMR footprint so that you're able to immediately mount it directly to a nice little SBR or PCC. It has lived up to recoil from most of the tests that we've been able to throw at it, if not all the tests that we've thrown at it. I think that it's a great choice. And if you think it's a great choice, you can also check it out over on Amazon. And if you use the promo code GCT Wolf 15, they're currently offering you guys, my followers, 15% off on this optic, which is stackable with the prime discount of 10% that's already there. This brings this optic just over 110 bucks. When you add in shipping and tax, there should be no shipping charge, but with tax and everything else, you're almost 120 bucks out the door for something that is good to go out of the box directly onto your AR, directly onto your PCC, or directly onto your RMR footprint. So guys, if you like this style of content, let me know. I'll try and get some more review samples. Hopefully Cyelee will be kind enough to send us their ruggedized version of the Wolf 2. They are using a better aluminum for the body so it can handle some drop tests, some mud tests. Perhaps we'll get one of those in and we will beat the living crap out of it and see if the Chinesium optics can survive. Until then, guys, I hope you enjoy the channel content. Like and subscribe for more. It helps to continue my small channel to grow. And at this time of year, if you are watching this, you can vote for me over on Gundies. You can nominate me at gundies.com/nominate. We are going for Breakthrough Creator of the Year as well as Voice of the 2A. If you don't know, we do follow all the court cases when it comes to the ATF versus the FRT situation. Currently in the courts is NAGR versus Garland, which is the National Association for Gun Rights, still fighting for our ability to run and keep FRTs without persecution from the government. As of recording this, they've already heard the case for the primary injunction for its members. So within the next week, we will have a follow-up ruling from the judge that states whether or not we will legally be allowed to maintain and own our FRTs if you're in the Fifth Circuits and you're a member of the National Association for Gun Rights. So you still have some time to send them some support. As little as $35 will get you in the door to support the court case as well as become a member of the NAGR. That makes you included in the injunction should the injunction be successful for its members. So guys, until next time, stay safe.